Amanda the Adventurer has just released, and it's been building a cult fan base over the past couple weeks. It is a full-fledged mystery all the way up to the end, centered around a character watching retro VHS tapes over the course of a single night. The story is a completely finished narrative, but there's a lot of room for speculation towards what you're about to hear. The game begins with the protagonist Riley receiving a letter from their aunt, Kate. The letter is reminiscent of a will. Kate claims she is out of time and there's a lot she has left unfinished that she needs to take care of. She gives Riley her house in Kensdale, as well as tells them that there is something in the attic that she needs to pass down to them. Kate airs her regrets for asking this of Riley, but she says that if Riley watches the tape in the attic, there's no turning back. The note ends there. The entire game starts and takes place within this attic once Riley moves in. The dusty attic is full of various items, foods, and lock containers. It's built upon old hardwood beams that line the interior. Cardboard boxes are placed all around, but it's clear that the space inside is organized enough to infer somebody spent a good amount of time in here. At the end of the attic is a tiny office space with a corkboard. On it, there's a note addressed to Kate. It's from somebody named Joanne. She states that her little brother was taken, and it was summed up to a general kidnapping by the police. She knows that there is more to it than that, though, and heard that Kate does research that normal people don't do. Whatever that means. Joanne continues to speak about a show that her little brother used to watch before he went missing. When her brother would watch it, it was like he wasn't there anymore. She asks Kate for answers with the evil behind the event. She wants to meet and feels like she's being watched. Below are sticky notes written by Kate herself on the corkboard talking about cold cases and disappearances. They all detail heavy research into a vague topic that Kate must have been investigating. She was up to something before she passed Riley this house. One last important thing is near the bottom of the corkboard, the word dynakinesis, which for those who don't know, means the manipulation of energy. But let's put that to the side for now and get back to the game. Riley finds a VHS tape next to a small old school television with a player built in. She puts the tape labeled "In the Kitchen" inside. It's a tape from a television show called Amanda the Adventurer. A cartoon starts playing with a skit of a small girl and a sheep character helping the viewer learn how to bake. It seems to be an animated show for kids. Amanda, the main character, asks questions to the watcher behind the screen, like what's her favorite type of pie. This must be to keep the children watching at home immersed. Riley decides to play along out of curiosity. Riley answers with apple for this one. Amanda excitedly continues the baking lesson and asks more questions. Amanda then grabs a knife to cut fruit to make a pie, but the sheep character named Wooly looks nervous when she does that. He states that it's a bad idea without adults around. It isn't safe, but not in an informative way. He looks genuinely scared. Something's wrong with this scene. The strange air dissipates after the screen goes static for a moment, like the cartoon purposely cut out the scene and fast-forwarded. The kids show is back to normal for a bit. After some playful banter about how to make a pie, Amanda explains how to preheat the oven. Wooly voices his concern again that they shouldn't be doing that without parents around. Amanda's extremely cheerful demeanor breaks for just a moment after he says that, and her eyes meet the floor. She says she doesn't know where they are right now dejectedly. Her large smile and her childlike sparkle returns back to normal immediately after, and then goes back to preheating the oven. The video pops out of the VHS player in the TV after that. What an awkward skit for a kid's television show. Almost like there was no supervision to the child actors, and it seemed sloppily unscripted, but still edited for TV. Was this show actually able to air, even with the uncomfortable comments in there? And why would Aunt Kate leave this for us? Is this the tape she wanted Riley to see? It's too obscure. Riley notices an oven in the back of the attic that was waiting for them. They realize the tape may have some semblance to the items in her aunt's storage. They follow the instructions of Amanda in the cartoon and preheat it exactly like she did. There's even fruit nearby that Kate must have left for her to put in as well. After some time passes, the oven finally dings and another tape pops out from inside the device. It's weird that it was in there, but mission accomplished. Riley puts the next tape in to find out what's going on here. It's another episode from the same cartoon. This time, it's about Amanda and the sheep going shopping and mailing a letter. It's still the same cheery environment as Amanda guides us through the experience. She brings us to a sweet shop, and just for a moment, the screen flashes in and out of static, and we see Amanda and Wooly look horrifyingly strained like they're about to puke with a red screen. It returns right back to the normal scene of the sweet shop and keeps playing directly after. Scenes shift pretty quickly as the episode plays out. Amanda wants to send a package to her friend, and Wooly says it's getting late. They should go home. The air is off again. Amanda becomes intense for a moment as she forgets who her friend is. Wooly starts becoming uneasy as Amanda becomes more frustrated. The screen keeps cutting as Amanda asks us who to send the package to. Riley responds with many things, but the scene doesn't continue until Riley says the answer, Kate. Amanda turns on a dime once again. The good mood is back. The creepy in-betweens stop, and the episode finishes out normally. Wooly, however, still looked forlorn. A jaunty beat plays from the ending screen, the production company's theme to be exact. They're called Hamlin. The tape pops out, and Riley is beginning to understand that these tapes aren't normal. Kate left these for them for a reason. They piece together the ending theme that they just heard to a small toy xylophone in the attic. They play the beat on the colorful wooden xylophone, and it works out and another tape slides out from the bottom. This tape is when things begin to make a more straightforward turn. It's not a foreign air anymore. This is too creepy. It begins with Wooly being alone on screen in an abandoned stormy playground. He looks around anxiously and runs to the foreground of the screen. He says, "Oh, it's you. Whatever you do, don't." And he's cut short as Amanda enters the frame and the static cuts. We see Wooly sobbing with a broken knee immediately after. Amanda's face is contorted with disdain and rage at him. This isn't a children's cartoon anymore. Wooly was clearly trying to outwardly speak to the viewer. It felt like he was talking to Riley themselves, just like it felt when Amanda would only take Kate as an answer earlier. Amanda changes face when she realizes she was on camera and begins putting on her facade of the bright little girl she always is. She states specifically, Wooly tripped and his accident was nobody's fault. Her head slowly turns to the side as she mouths the words. Wooly tries to say he didn't trip, but she interrupts him. Wooly's scared. The view is much darker than usual. The lesson this time is about what to do when you get hurt. They go to a hospital to give Wooly a checkup. Both characters exchange some negative glances towards one another as the facade of innocence persists. The credits roll and the tape ends. Riley re-watches it to make sure that they saw the starting scene correctly. It does play out the same with Wooly, but this time they notice all the different times on the clocks throughout the episode. Riley brings this knowledge back to the attic and adjusts the times of every clock inside that matches the appearance of the clocks in the video. It works, and a clanging is heard from one of the clocks, giving yet another tape. Looking back, their theory is correct. The tapes really do relate to everything Kate kept up in this creaky ancient house. Near Kate's office space in the back, a new newspaper clipping is also found. It chronicles an article about a man named Sam Colton. He started the television show Amanda the Adventurer. It became acclaimed in a small town, and with his adopted daughter Rebecca as the star, she played and voiced the main protagonist. On the back of the same article, another entry is about a stolen Celtic ritual item from a museum, the crown of the stag. That has to be a coincidence though, just a random news article that happened to be on the same paper. That can't relate to all this, right? The next episode is about a picnic. This time, the background starts out already pretty bleak. It's stormy and gray. Amanda and Wooly finish their picnic and take the viewer on a journey around a dead forest as she asks disturbing questions. They then get to a mutilated body of a dead fox lying in a bush with its body half strewn over it. There is a handgun and a knife on the barely formed grass. The picture in front of Riley is abhorrent. Amanda continues asking her questions as the monitor of the TV flickers a crimson red. Wooly looks distressed throughout the entire episode. Amanda finishes it off by asking the viewer a final question. She says, "Does everything rot?" And her tone falls as she starts to demand angrily that the viewer answer. It's unnerving, but Riley decides to respond with a simple no. The TV clicks off. A noise is heard from behind. It came from the house below the attic. That wasn't the TV. It must have been something thumping on the attic door. Is somebody inside the house? Riley moves to the side, startled at the sound. But before she could hide, large white hands straddle from the thrown-open doorway. Thin, elongated limbs come careening outwards towards the ceiling in an instant. The body of a huge, iridescent beast follows them. It makes a serpent-like hiss as it crawls on all fours around the attic. It stops, and silence fills the air. It saw Riley. They can't move as they see the creature. A large, gargantuan entity has made its way into their home. The beast's face comes into vision. It has many eyes that glow white in the dark space, almost like a spider. On its head are two buns, reminiscent of Amanda's hairstyle on the show. It lets out a cry when it realizes Riley is standing in the room. It charges towards them malevolently. It reaches them, revealing a set of massive, long, pale teeth. The scene goes black. We as the player can now continue the game from the main menu. It starts us at the beginning again. Though all the tapes we watched before gave us new information and we need to change things this time around. Riley begins by entering a safe code she saw previously before the encounter with the monster. This gives a button that allows them to pause the television. It's the same first tape again with the baking scene in the kitchen, but now Riley pauses the screen when they notice the fridge has a prompt that gives them an idea. It has a picture of an oven overheating, so instead of making the apple pie this time around with the play oven in the attic, they instead try to crank the oven's temperature and time up to its max. When they turn back around, the frame on the monitor has changed. Riley runs across the hardwood to see what happened and clicks play. It's Amanda and Wooly. They're frightened and screaming as the oven in the cartoon behind them starts a fire. Their screaming cuts out and the video pops out from the player. How is that possible? The video that they've seen multiple times over literally shifted depending on what Riley did with the items given to her. It's supernatural. What is this cartoon? Did Kate leave these toys around in the attic specifically for them? Back on the table, there's a new note detailing how to make a meat pie this time. They have to kill a rat to do it, but they're able to do it semi-easily to acquire the next tape. Once again, Amanda and Wooly are mailing a letter around the neighborhood in this one. This time, however, Amanda is dejected about something. She blanks about her friend. She seems like she's trying to remember them as the screen turns red. Amanda goes back and forth from rage to despair as the stores around the block all change to a meat market. She doesn't want to go there. She screams at the viewer to stop. Her yelling becomes demonic, along with the TV itself. Inside the meat market, her tone is now lulled and empty. She's still concerned about her friend. Her voice bellows in anger one last time. Wooly takes over and tries to get things back on track. It works for Amanda to ask the viewer who the card should be sent to this time. The correct answer is Wooly now, not Kate. This tape concludes with the prompt. More clues give a completely different tape now than any of the prior ones. This time, the skit takes place on a farm. Weather warnings broadcast throughout over the episode. Nothing too important on this one to note just yet, besides Amanda bullying Wooly once more. But it will be viewed again later. Amanda ends this tape with telling the viewer about an abandoned kitten. She asks the watcher to help the lonely kitten. Riley responds and claims that they will. Amanda stops dead in her tracks after they answer though. Her frowning face slowly distorts, turning upward into a malicious grin. It cuts red and pops out. Now from that, we get the Dead Forest tape again. It moves a bit quicker through the cutaways now. Instead of the bloodied fox, we get a kitten in a cage in the same scene. It's still alive and it's frightened. Wooly looks scared in the back. Amanda asks once again if they should help the kitten. Riley answers again with yes. A still frame then plays out of Amanda's disappointed face looking at the cat. For whatever reason, Riley can't pause anymore. It's almost as if the event broke the device. Looking back in the attic, the door downward into the house is wide open, but the creature doesn't seem to be around. There's a light peering out of it and it's blinding. So much so that nothing can be made out from what's beyond it. Stepping into it leads to the same meat butcher's deli from earlier, only this time Riley's inside of it, hanging from one of the hooks. Their vision goes black. Another ending was reached. That one was much more ambiguous. After coming to learn more about Amanda, there is much more hope for some sort of optimistic conclusion this time. Having even more info, Riley continues to try again. The ambient brick attic waits for them. They instantly grab scissors from a toolbox from before and cut the head off a doll that was missing last time. Batteries were in its neck and they use them to power a toy robot named Blabot. It has little numbers on its plastic body. This robot seems to be the key to advancing this time. The tapes are exactly the same as the first loop, but Riley notices information that they can use. There was a banner that said Blabot in the second tape, and on that same banner was a price for a sale at one of the stores in the neighborhood. They put the numbers into the Blabot in the attic like a code. A prompt plays from the robot's mouth, a concerning message. "Send my condolences to Kate," it reads out in a binary voice. When Riley turns back to the pause monitor of the old tape, it shows Amanda saying she doesn't want to play anymore, and it slides out of the player. More puzzles involve the robot. but we get the tape back involving Wooly being completely alone, looking worried. He tries to talk to someone beyond the monitor. It seems like he's trying to talk to Riley themselves. Wooly asks if Riley trusts him. They reply yes, but Amanda's evil voice echoes through the screen and she appears like an apparition. She grills Wooly on his mental state and says something's wrong with his head. She continues the facade that they're in a normal cartoon and asks Wooly to drink something she gives him. He does so under the pretense of the television show and he collapses. The next scene is in a dark hospital room. There is medical equipment inside, but this looks more like an abandoned basement. The old textured tiled flooring is covered in trails of blood. Wooly's passed out, unconscious, on an operation table. Amanda is wearing a doctor's mask and asking the viewer to help her out with the operation. A dim light barely outlines the gruesome scene. Amanda continues talking to the protagonist, but her head tilts and her eyes glaze as she grabs a bone saw. She darts around in-betweens of the monitor's screen. She's on top of Wooly, grabbing his head, gripping the saw to his neck. He wakes up, panicking. They struggle back and forth as Riley watches. Wooly's scared to death as Amanda asks the viewer to choose who to help between the two of them. Will this choice decide the fate of one of their lives? Are they talking to a viewer at all, or has it been Riley this whole time? It's akin to the three of them all being in the same room together, even though Riley's just watching an animation. It's too real and much too lifelike. There are real people behind these cartoon characters, and they're aware of the viewer behind the glass. Riley points to the screen at one of them out of confusion and desperation. They pointed to Amanda. Amanda then knocks Wooly back out, thankfully, not sawing off his head just yet, and she whispers to him, slowly, putting him to sleep, as she watches him with her bulging eyes. The tape then pops out from the socket. After some trials and tribulations, a final tape is received from the Blabot. Amanda is alone in her house, and she asks if she can share a secret with the listener. Riley affirms she can. Amanda keeps relenting on with asking over and over. Riley keeps telling her she can. Amanda's face grows dull and listless, and she says, "I'm out there, somewhere." The screen clicks off. Satanic wailing and screeching bellows from the television as it judders violently. Incomprehensible red images play out. The TV itself seems like it's staring at Riley as if it's alive. Riley falls back onto the ground as they watch the device writhe. They chuck a brick in the attic at it, busting the screen. The commotion ends. Riley's head turns towards the small glass pane window next to it. The dark, stormy night shifts quickly, giving rise to a sunny day. So this is supposedly the ending where things don't end terribly, but it only raises even more questions. And now it's time for those answers. This is the last phase, and Riley does find out some larger plot points that turn this mystery into something more concrete. This final playthrough involves multiple puzzles leading to the last few tapes, but this time, they're of found footage. There is no real major importance to how they're achieved, so it's time to go over them one by one before the true ending of the game. Each new VHS tape is color-coded with real footage. Riley first finds the orange tape and places it in the player. It shows a home movie of a normal suburban family. It's their daughter's birthday. Their daughter, Lauren, is watching Amanda the Adventurer and is glued to the TV. She won't come down to her own party, and her parents note that ever since she started watching that show, Lauren's been acting completely different. The parents bicker for a moment about it, and then once the mom turns back, her daughter is gone. The cartoon is still playing as eerie static is heard in the background. Their sliding glass door is wide open. They panic at their daughter's disappearance, and the shot from the camera falls. The next tape is a bright blue. It shows an interview room within a workplace with high security. Somebody with a lab coat and a man in a suit bring a small girl in. It's fair to assume it's Rebecca, Sam Colton's daughter, and Amanda herself. The man in a suit asks Rebecca questions, but no audio plays. He has her write in a book and give a signature. The woman in the lab coat notes things down as this happens. They all leave after it's done, and the lab-coated woman brings Rebecca into a room protected by a security guard. It cuts to black once the door closes. A neon red tape comes after. A news reporter is talking about the disappearance of Sam Colton, the creator of Amanda the Adventurer. She states he's been missing for 3 weeks with no leads. The show stars Rebecca, his daughter, and they're wondering what this missing persons case will mean for the future of the program. Hamlin Entertainment bought the show about 1 year prior to this and transformed the live-action show into an animated cartoon. They wanted to show the cartoon all over the nation instead of just locally or in the small town it's known in. Ever since the disappearance, the show Amanda the Adventurer has started including disturbing subjects and dialogue. A new message was put out from Hamlin Entertainment that they thought Sam Colton was to blame for abandoning his daughter, and that they will keep the show running with Rebecca no matter what. Amanda the Adventurer is here to stay. They add on that all of Rebecca's other interviews and outings will be cancelled henceforth. This one ends here. An emerald green tape shows Sam Colton with a local interviewer. The interviewer is a woman named Sadie. It's a small little production where they drink coffee and talk with each other. They talk casually and their dialogue is cringily wholesome and nice. Sadie asks Sam about Amanda the Adventurer. Sam Colton talks about the show and how it's a great project that teaches children about the joys of life. He says Rebecca is at the center of that joy, his adopted daughter and lead star. Sam also says that the town librarian, Kate, has helped him out so much. She talks about Amanda at every story time in the library. Then he comments that a production company wants to pick the show up to turn it into a cartoon. The two get excited with one another as they say their goodbyes and the tape ends. The last found footage tape is purple. It details somebody sneaking around a large building with a camera in hand. They close in on a shut door. Inside, there is subtitles overhearing a director talking to Rebecca. The director in this case could be inferred to be the man in the suit from earlier. The director is prompting Rebecca to repeat phrases. She says things like "bye yell," "pie man," and "ba lamb." She says these terms over and over. Sam is in the room as well, and he's getting creeped out by it. He asks them to stop, but the director says it's just for voice reaction technology for the program. Rebecca starts talking to nobody, starts saying she doesn't want to do something. When Sam asks who she's speaking to, she replies with the man in the headphones. Sam says this is going too far and they take a break. The door swings open and the person holding the camera shuffles nervously, trying to hide that they were listening in. That's it for the last tape. Once Riley completes the same ending as last time and busts the TV with a brick, a new scene plays. The sun sets on a new day as Riley makes it through the night. From the back, somebody busts into the attic with a red raincoat and mask on. Amanda the Adventurer ends here. That's it for Amanda. I did not know about this game myself until just recently, and I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. I think of all the story explained videos I've done, this one was the hardest to go over properly. It's definitely one of those games that you need to play for the atmosphere and tone. I don't think this does it justice at all, but for those who don't have the time, these are the events pretty straightforwardly. Thanks for watching all the way through if you did. I have a lot of theories on what could be the future of the plot or a sequel, but I'll save those for another time. We have a lot more content like this on all games that are indie, and if that's your thing, subscribe and like and all that if you want to. Goodbye!